The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it's a Wednesday in the rib.
It's something. Okay, that sounds a little better for me.
Yeah, it does.
And I'm trying to get your
mic on.
There you go. We got
Okay.
we got a better sound from you instead. It sounded like you're in a tunnel.
Okay.
Well, obviously, a change in the election process. Elizabeth Wong, 24-year-old candidate from Fall River School Committee, is dropping out of the race. Mm-hmm. She has a new job with Catholic Social Services, something she's been hoping to do. She's going to be working in the Immigration Law Education and Advocacy Project. That's actually a pretty decent project. They deal with a lot of people who are being detained and help people become citizens. So it's a pretty good project. She says that working for immigration law really hits home for me. It's how I want to grow as a person, how I want to serve as a person. I don't want to give up this opportunity. Wong's father immigrated to the United States from China. So again, people have to make decisions on what they want to do, and I just wish she knew what date the election was.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if that's her or the Herald News, but we can't condemn her, but. The elections, just for all you people that are going to run to the polls, there won't be any polls on November 2nd. So. Yeah, well, obviously, yeah. School committee is obviously a worthwhile endeavor, and she's, you're attempting to help the community and deal with the school department. But full-time jobs and careers and career paths, obviously more important. She feels this is important. It's very important to her, and as he said, it's too bad that it's poor timing. But if you look at the thing in an objective context, better now than if she got elected.
Yeah,
and then she had to leave.
Yeah, and the thing is though that she's still going to be on the ballot.
Yeah.
She is asking people to vote for some other candidates, but she's not endorsing anyone, which is a pretty good thing. On Monday's show, we weren't able to get to it, but the Mass Senate, had gotten to the point that they said that transportation issues, more particularly rail, is very important to Southcoast, Massachusetts.
Forgive me if I laugh.
How many decades?
How many years have we been hearing that?
Decades.
Yeah, and
decades.
It's the first. It's like the dishwasher.
Yeah.
Last one hired, first one fired.
Yep.
And when the state that couldn't give us a holiday won't have money, I predict that the South Coast Rail will not be built in my lifetime, or mostly the viewers' lifetimes.
And actually, that was told to me by then Senator Joan Menard,
yeah,
who turned around and told, and Senate President Therese Murray at the time, who told me, South Coast Rail will not exist in your lifetime. So, I believe that. But, again, came out this week, permitting
political promises.
Yep, again, South Coast Rail permits sought for Fall River tracks. Permitting through required notice of intent wetlands filings will be sought in Fall River in the next month or so to advance South Coast Rail service to Boston through the revised Middleborough route. State officials met with Bill Kenny, another political hack, City Planning Director, and J.R. Fry, City Engineer, before a planned walkthrough of the track, wetlands, and related sites impacting the project next month. The state plans to hold public hearings on the notice of intent with the city's Conservation Commission before the end of this year, South Coast Rail Project Manager Gene Fox said. The walkthrough with city officials prior to it would cover the identified station site on Duval Street in Bicentennial Park sector, and some of the tracks and rights-of-way heading towards Battleship Cove. Isn't that lovely? So
yeah,
we've already demolished half the tracks in Fall River. So let's
Well, yeah, that's more money for the campaign contributors and
That's right.
contractors
Hey.
that give that. That's why there's always construction on. I don't think 128's ever had a period where it's somewhere along that line from the beginning to end there wasn't something. And if there's nothing to fix, they'll put in New Jersey barriers
Exactly.
just to keep their campaign contributors working, and making millions of dollars. So.
Hey, isn't that the way it goes? Imagine this for 1 second, Chip. Just imagine this. That for every single thing that an elected official had to promote, propose, vote on, or approve, if they had to disclose the political contributions made to them by the people who would benefit from these contracts and proposals. Can you see that now?
Not really, because...
God forbid we require the elected officials to be...
Obviously, we know how the game works, and it's just part of it. And that I think, segues into our next thing, because you talked about William Kenny. And we're talking about the Fall River parking garages are used for housing and retail use. and in our infinite wisdom, our city planner, who obviously... doesn't spend a lot of time in the city, but that parking garage, wasn't that going to be like the Garden of Eden before the last election? Wasn't the current mayor going to build gardens up there or something?
Yes, he was going to build parking garages with parks on top of them.
With a park on top,
Yeah.
But that, of course, most people have forgotten it, but I haven't.
Neither
so now
have I.
This is a new one. Mr. Kenny says that we need more market rate housing. Really? Everything in this city, there's only two things we get: TIFs and market rate housing.
And
I
market
don't
rate
know what we're going to stick in the market rate housing, because it never gets sold, and it ends up with subsidized housing.
That's right.
And we know that. And we need more retail. We can't even keep the retail stores that are in existence in business. And we need more retail stores. No, what we need is more jobs, more paychecks, and more discretionary cash for the people of Fall River to keep retail businesses in existence. And, this archaic idea of revitalizing a vibrant downtown retail district, I mean, you have to have about 1/2 of a brain cell to believe that. I mean, let's just look at reality here, people. They can't even keep shopping malls. Shopping malls destroyed downtown business districts. It was far more convenient for the people to go to shopping malls and have all their stores in the same proximity, and they didn't have to walk too much, and they could sit down. And now look what's happened. Amazon's destroying the shopping malls. People today don't even want to get out of the house. They don't want to walk anywhere. They won't even go to the malls anymore. I think everybody's seen that commercial, because I've seen it it's like on 1,000,000 times when they're talking to that. What do they call that thing?
Well, there's 3 of them, but
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about. Alexa, I need dog
Alexa,
food.
that's it. Alexa, I need dog food. Alexa, start the robotic vacuum cleaner. Alexa, years ago somebody drew a artist rendering of what people were going to look like in a year like 2500, and that the way society's gone, he may have been right. They had these tiny little arms like T-Rexes, and they had these skinny little legs and this big giant head, because that's the only thing that functioned anymore, because they had to talk to the machine, and that was it. And they don't want to do anything. Amazon's going to go into the food business, and they may drive supermarkets out of existence too.
Hey.
I mean, nobody wants to leave the house. I mean, that is the epitome of laziness.
Well,
Start the robotic vacuum cleaner.
No, actually, it gets worse, because I was playing with it yesterday. I have Google Home, and I have 2 devices. I have one in my living room, one in my bedroom. And you've heard me on the phone sometimes say, okay, Google, play WSAR.
Yeah.
And WSAR comes on. Now I can go, okay, Google, call Bob, and it will call your cell phone for me. I can also order food. I can tell it, okay, Google, I'm hungry. And it says, do you want pizza? Do you want Chinese? I mean, it goes to the menu for you. And it says, and it will call and connect you to the restaurant. You want music? Okay, Google, play, whatever you want to play. Lady Gaga, The Carpenters, Jimi Hendrix, whatever you want, it plays. You just tell it what you want. So this is what we're getting. We're into the home automation system. And it's gotten so bad now that I don't even have to get up to change my thermostat. All I got to do is say, okay, Google, increase temperature, decrease temperature. Or say, okay, Google, what is the house temperature right now? And it will tell me. It tells me 55 degrees outside, 49% humidity, 66 degrees inside with 47% humidity. I start laughing because everything's there.
No, you're right. But look, this is an absurdity. Look, we don't need more market rate housing, number one. So throw that part of that equation. We do need businesses, not retail, because let's face it, we can't support really retail businesses until we get a better economy in this city, until we have people with money. They still haven't figured out that amazingly simplistic idea that in order for businesses to survive, they have to have customers that can pay.
Imagine that.
And look, we've said it so many times on this show. Look, Fall River is not going to be better off economically until we understand that the Amazons and these big box kind of things not going to be the panacea. What we need is a bunch of small businesses like we used to have on Pleasant Street and South Main Street. But the difference was, as we've said ad nauseum, the fact was that in those days, people had jobs. Maybe they weren't the greatest jobs in the world, but they had a job and they had a paycheck. And they used to go out on Friday to do their shopping. They didn't have Alexa to talk to. They used to get in their car, drive to the market, and then drive and stop for fish and chips or something to eat. And on Sunday morning, they'd go to church and they'd have breakfast. So we had restaurants.
Right.
And like I said, we had 8 restaurants from Stafford Square to Bogle Hill. Just on Pleasant Street, there were 8 restaurants. And
they were all busy.
And they were all busy. And we had clothing stores. You had Sawyer's and you had Empire Men's Shop. We had
Amazonia.
We had all kinds of stores. But the difference was people had paychecks. They could actually frequent those places. And then we have all these geniuses. Most of the people have figured out you can't bring Boston politicians down here to tell you how to run an election because they don't understand Fall River. But they haven't understood that you can't bring people down here that are coming down and telling you how to invigorate this economy that have done the invigoration in places like Newton, where the average household income is like $115,000, which is like 4 times
right.
what, 4 families in Fall River don't make what the average household income is. Of course they have, and what does Newton have that we don't have? They don't have Amazon. You know what they got?
People who work.
Money. And they have 10,000 more small businesses than we do. Look at the federal statistics on businesses. The last time I referenced it, Fall River had 4,000 and some businesses, and Newton had 14,000 and change. Why? They have 2,000 less people. You would assume they'd have less businesses. Well, they don't have 23% of their people living below the poverty level. They don't have the lowest household income in the state. And it's just how many times they truly do believe in the Goebbels mantra. The more you tell a lie and the bigger the lie is, people will begin to believe it. How many times are they going to talk about market rate housing as though it's some kind of cure to the problem we have? As a matter of fact, it doesn't cure it, it exacerbates it. So another brilliant plan, and I will make a prediction, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I'm making a prediction. that will go the way of the Hanging Gardens of Babylon Park that was going to be at that parking garage a couple of years ago.
Well, you know, the other thing is that these parking garages are being, you know, condemned by the city. Bill Kenny can't even keep these. We own them. The city, the redevelopment authority owns these parking garages. They've hired somebody who's making money off of them, but we aren't. Fall River's not making any money off of them. They're not maintained. They're falling apart. But we're going to put apartments in there?
Well, what we're going to do is we're going to end up with the King Philip Mill. We're going to have all these big plans, and they're going to go before and it's going to be a total disaster, as it always is. And then what are they going to do? What are they going to do with the King Philip Mill now? Bulldoze it, flatten it.
That's what he wants to do now.
That's what's going to happen with those parking garages. They're in total disrepair again. Again, as everything is in this city. We build something and then we just let it go. I don't know how the hell the pyramids are still standing. I can tell you one thing: it wasn't built in Fall River. That's one of the reasons.
Well, you know, you remember the movie mantra, "Build it and they will come."
Yeah.
In Fall River, it's "Build it and it will fall down."
So more headlines for a political season, which is thankfully coming to an end.
Well, you know, granted that the political season's coming to an end, but we need parking downtown because some genius, Eddie Lambert, decided to put a courthouse in the middle of downtown.
That's always a big draw for a business district.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know, criminals. It's always a big draw. I mean, and somebody else decided to put senior housing in the middle of downtown. And remember what the reason was behind putting senior housing in the middle of downtown? Do you remember that? We're going to save these historic buildings like the Academy Theater and whatnot, and we're going to make it easier for the seniors to gain access to stores and businesses. As soon as the housing went up, the businesses went out.
That's right. You know, and ironically enough, it shows how little they pay attention. I went to a seminar a couple years ago, based on the retirement board. You know, I attended a seminar where they actually had this and when you thought about it, because it's something that most people don't think about. Everybody always complains that, you know, the elderly don't have a lot of money, and they don't. But this was the thing that the seminar said. Retirees become more important in a depressed economy because people who used to have jobs and are young lose them. They lose their houses. They don't have any money. But they may not have a lot of money, but retirees do have money. They may not be able to spend as much as the younger people when they're employed, but they have actually more money. So they actually have a greater impact on an economy. And when they built it there, they were beginning to look at something that actually could have helped the economy. If they had stores that catered to what they, you know, it's about supply and demand. You need a demand. I mean, you know, you can't build a skateboard shop downtown and try to sell it to 80-year-olds. But the fact is that
the hip doctors would like it.
The hip doctors, the orthopedics would be happy. All the orthopedic doctors would be happy. But the fact is that you did have kind of a market there. You did have some people that will go if you make it, you know, if you make it viable. And you know, that's the thing. But as usual, they don't. It's not. There's no easy answer. It's not one thing. One thing is never going to cure or create an economy. You can't, and if you do, it's doomed to failure, because just look at what happened to cities and towns whose entire economy was built around one industry. Look what happened when the steel mills closed. Look what happened in Pittsburgh and the surrounding areas when the steel mill went down. Look what happened in Detroit when the car industry failed, and the surrounding areas to Detroit. Smaller communities, mid-sized cities like Fall River, Their economy has to be based in a small business type of atmosphere. But then we need the elderly to spend money, and we need jobs for the people to have them have discretionary cash. And that's something that maybe I missed it, CJ, but you can refresh my memory. But over the last, 10 years, I haven't seen a real major push in that part of any economic development plan. We always hear as part of a election campaign, yep, we need jobs, but I've never seen an economic development plan presented to the city of Fall River whose foundation was creating apprenticeship programs and jobs and trying to get our people to work when they had a paycheck, because with a paycheck, it really expands our ability to bring in retail stores and businesses. And small business is the key, not large business, because everybody that hooks their, attaches their star to one business, when that business fails, I mean, we can look at history throughout this country. When Caterpillar had the strike, when the steel mills went down, when the auto industry went down, when the shipyard closes, when the entire area is dependent on the shipyard, when 85% of the people work in the shipyard, well, guess what? When that shipyard sinks, so does the community.
Interestingly enough, I immediately think of economic development. I think of ED. No, I'm not talking about erectile dysfunction. They don't have a medication for it. In Fall River, it's not economic development. We've always said it's economic destruction, okay? Now it's just not even worth mentioning. But it was a good lead-in, because at the quarter mark of this budget year, no CDA funds have been expended for economic development in Fall River. Imagine that.
Yeah, because if you give it to all your friends like you've been doing it for the last few years, and since we've had a CDA, which should be gone, by the way, but the fact is, if you give it to all your friends, you're going to suffer at the polls. So now what we'll do is we'll announce it later, after the election, and then we'll give it to our friends.
That's right.
Because if you don't get elected, you'll make sure you empty the bank and give it to everybody before you're gone. And if you're in, you'll just give it to them anyway.
Right. But the thing is that the mayor has got to be releasing his economic destruction plan, development plan, or economic dysfunction plan. Yeah. Within the coming weeks.
Coming weeks. Isn't the election only a few weeks away?
Yes, it will be.
Yes, it's only a few weeks away. It's coming down.
So Mike Dion, the Community Development Block Grant Director, CDA Director, said that they haven't spent $346,852 in CDBG monies. Please be advised that no money set aside for economic development activities has been expensed in the first quarter of 2017 program year. It is expected that as the year progresses, economic development grant funds will be expensed, Dion wrote in an email. So, Mr. Dion is a very reputable gentleman. I have a great deal of respect for him and his job. He ran this department for many, many years. He left for short term and came right back because we needed him. And, because we had people like Steve Long run this department. Imagine that.
Yeah.
Talk about political patronage.
Yeah.
But the city doesn't have an economic dysfunction plan yet.
Yeah, but this will be his fourth attempt.
Right.
At creating one. So.
Right.
So much for their ability to get anything done, except make promises.
Yeah.
And like I said, so what? Who cares? It doesn't matter who makes the economic development plan. The economic development plan will be the same thing. They are infatuated with market rate housing.
But that's not economic development, and that's what people don't understand.
No, but it is. They keep saying it, CJ. And Goebbels said, if you keep saying it, they believe it.
And if you're going to lie, lie big.
That's right, lie big.
Lie big, because it's easier to believe. And but that's what's happening. You have the lies coming out from this administration and I'm not talking about this just because it's an election year. All right? He privatized trash. Not one person in city government, not one, anywhere. And I'm not talking about his opponent or the city council. Nobody can show me where the savings is. Oh, we don't have to pay for health care. We don't have to pay for retirement. Okay, but we're paying more over the time. It's so bad that
10-year contract.
Yeah, a 10-year contract, okay?
Wait till the end of that contract.
Yeah, and you know, it's so bad that the Easy Disposal that was hired, their guys are creating a hazard for themselves and for the community because they're not even handling the trash bins right. I drove by one this morning. The guy flipped the cover over. He started taking the bags out by hand to throw them in to
They do that every time at my house.
This is what I'm saying.
They never ever. Well, I've only got like one bag anyway, so but it's they. I don't think I've ever seen them actually hook it up to the hydraulic system. The guy flips it open, looks inside, sees there's one bag, reaches in, pulls the bag out, throws it in the truck.
Yeah, and those purple bags are flimsy. So when you're doing that. Once it's all over the street, guess what? Are they going to clean it? I don't know.
I don't think so.
We've had this problem before too.
But we'll see.
Yeah, but you know, if we're going to talk about economic development, let's not talk about market rate housing. All right? Because guess what? The 31st of October is coming really fast, and at the South End Neighborhood Association meeting, and we have the video. If you want us to show it, let me know. I'll put it in the system. The mayor turned around and said, we will not extend the time to close on this deal. And if that happens, our second plan of attack will be to demolish the mill.
Yep, if we can't get one of our buddies to get it and get the deal, we're going to demolish it, which was, by the way, until they successfully implemented the Goebbels system and convinced the people of the South End that they didn't want that building demolished, even though that was their first choice.
Exactly.
Now they're going to go back to what the South End wanted in the first place, so now they're going to have to flip back again and convince them.
But the thing is that when they do this type of stuff, we're going to incur the costs, the city. We're already incurring the costs because guess what? It was just revealed that this developer has not paid a dime towards the fire watch or the security on the building. So we're paying that bill. We're paying for the security on the building. We're making sure that the place doesn't go up in flames. And then we're going to pay to knock the building down. And then once we do that, guess what? It'll be a clean land because all the remediation work will be done. The building will be demolished. It'll be flat. Is he going to make it a park? No. He's going to sell it to his friend for $1,000 or for $1. And they're going to put up something else because that's what happens.
Sounds like a much better plan to me.
Personally, you know my opinion on mills. They all should come down.
Yeah.
But if they take that mill down, I don't want to see them put anything up there. Make it a city park on the water. Imagine that you put that right on the waterfront there on that pond. Okay, you have kayaking lessons or whatever you want. It would be a great little area.
Build a soccer field.
Yeah, build it build it on the water.
build a soccer field close to. It would be really close in the South End to the Ponte Delgada, who, as I continue to say, we've got a hidden jewel. It was one of the best soccer team in the United States at one time. We had that in our area. The Ponte Delgadas were the best team in the United States. Google it. And they actually finished 5th in the World Championships playing against professional teams at one time. So, that's what we'd like to see. But before we wrap up, we're going to talk about the charter. Hopefully the next thing, because there's been a lot of buzz. And,
yeah, we got about 10 seconds left.
Remember one thing. This charter, they can say that it's fake news. It's not fake news. Read it. Read the Minority Report. Read the fact that from this point on, if you accept this charter, we will never again be able to elect the people we want to deal with the charter. Politicians will make their own rules. And if you think that's a good thing, you need your head examined.
That's for sure.
So stay angry.
Stay angry, and we will have a special on the charter coming up soon. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on Friday.